Hi guys, Will Terry here, and this video is going to be called Turning Pro Critiques number 3. And yeah, I'm going to do another one of these critique videos. And if you're new to these, you can go back on my channel and look at 1 and 2 to kind of get an idea of what I'm doing, where I'm getting the images from, and why I'm doing it and all that good stuff. But I kind of just want to jump into this. But before I do, I did want to mention that at SVS, excuse me, we just got a new website. And if you are a subscriber, you could be undergoing some problems because nothing good happens without some growing pains, right? But we think we've ironed out most of the little bugs and stuff, and so most people are just up and running. But I just want to throw that out there that if you're having any problems, email us at svslearninfo@gmail.com, and we'll take care of any problems that you're having. But the cool thing is the new site it's so much more powerful, so much more robust. It does things like it remembers the place where you left off on your video, so you don't have to try to find where you were before, even if you log out and stuff like that. And a lot of other things. Our live classes are going to be easier to share homework and for us to post videos and video responses and just different things like that. So that's why we made the switch. It was a long time coming. It was very much needed. And my another kind of little announcement is my illustration class starts tomorrow for the Draw 50 Things critiques. And I just like to let you guys know what's going on. If I were watching my channel, I'd probably be like, what is this guy even talking about? But, I mean, that's how you get to know people online, right? And I feel like a huge weight has been lifted because I just sent off the finals to the children's book I was working on. I wish I could share that with you, but I can't until it comes out. But it's called Chicken Lily, and it's kind of a fun little project. And boy, I mean, it's funny because the excitement of getting a new assignment is great, and the excitement of drawing the sketches is always fun. And then when you get towards those last paintings, you just want to have the thing done and get your life back and have more time and stuff. And so that's why I'm making a video right now. Is I did not have time to make a video between the last one, and now I do, and so I'm going to do these critiques. So the first one that I'm going to look at is one by Sammy. And again, this was on, I'm just going to drop this in here real quick, just to show you. I'm pulling these from our forums. And let's see, this one is actually at the bottom. And I'm trying to pull them to actually teach a specific thing in each one, something that I see. There, you know, and I'm not. There's so many good ones, and there's so many that I could spend time on. I think what I'm going to do though is, and another reason why I wanted to make this is our forums are going to change, and that kind of sucks because there's a ton of content, a ton of discussions that are going on in the forum service that we're using right now, but the new site comes with forums that are integrated into the classes, and so we're going to have to switch over to those, and so we're going to end up losing a lot of this great content. We hate that. There really wasn't anything we can do, but just so you know, like, everything can start up again in the new forums. So I'm going to ask you not to post anymore on this thread. I'll probably start a new thread sometime in the near future, asking for more submissions so that I can do these critiques for my YouTube channel in the future. But for right now, these are the ones that I'm going to pull. So if I didn't critique yours and you want to submit it in the new forum, feel free to do that too. Just because I'm not critiquing yours doesn't mean that I didn't want to. It's just that I happened to log in and go through and try to see what I wanted to talk about, and these kind of popped out. Okay, so this is and what the people are doing is they're putting their I want to hear their story, so they're writing that in there, And this one says the concept is kind of simple. 3 teenage friends like to gather at the Elephant Basement and hang out all the time. And then they're watching it like a scary movie. And so there's some really cool things happening with this one. And then there's just some general things that I think could help. One thing in general to understand is that beginning painters typically will draw too light and paint too dark. That's just a thing. It's like, if you look at averages, you go into art schools or art classes in university and whatever, you'll see that you have to really encourage students to draw darker, and then you have to really encourage them to paint lighter. And I think the reason that we all and what's funny is I see this painting and it looks so much like my first paintings. I think the reason for that is when you have that dark, you can have more. It's easier to have saturated color, and the more you lighten your painting, the more you have more. I think you feel like you have more chance of washing out the color, and so I think that's probably part of the reason. So just looking at this one, if I just look at some of the things that are working right, you got the mood. The mood is great. I mean, definitely we get scary. It's dark, and you got to have dark in order to have scary, right? But I think you can do with a little more light in there. And the other things are, I think, on this is just execution stuff. So like some decisions that I would make a little bit differently on this is I think we can see that there is kind of like a dresser or some piece of furniture right here and another piece kind of right here, probably bookshelves or something like that. I would make that the TV. So if I was to come in here, I'm just gonna paint out what you have a little bit right here in the middle, and I've got my texture on pretty heavy. I'm just gonna kind of knock that down, and then what if we make the TV be the source of light? Now, one other thing that I might mention before I do this is, it's really, really hard to have 2 light sources, especially the same color. And so what you have is you've got this bluish greenish light coming from the TV, but then you have the same bluish greenish light coming from the window, and they're going to cancel each other out when they're on opposite sides. I mean, like think about 2 sets of police, lining up on both sides of each other and firing at a suspect. That's kind of a gruesome analogy, but they would never do that because they could shoot each other. And so what you want is, and this is advice I give to all my students, is master one light source and maybe have like reflected light, or maybe like a really secondary light. But the one thing you don't want to do is never have 2 light sources that are equal in color and equal in intensity and opposite sides of the illustration, either side to side or front to back, like you have in this case, because it just won't work out. So I'm just gonna come along here and just say, excuse me, that this is the TV right here, and I'm just gonna grab some of your light. In fact, before I do that, actually, I'm not rehearsed on this, you guys, so you could be drawing right now, you know what I mean? And that way I won't feel as nervous that you're like waiting on me to like do something amazing, because that ain't gonna happen. But yeah, see, now you're drawing, the pressure's off. I'm just going to select this again, something like that, and then let me grab the inverse of that. I'm going to grab some of your light, and I'm just going to try to see what would happen if I throw that out, kind of hitting the floor here. And then, excuse me, it's allergy season out here. Do I always complain about my allergies? You guys are probably taking bets on like when I'm going to start to complain about allergies. But if you make this the TV out here, then the thing that I think that'll allow you to do as well is I think it'll allow you to, let me rasterize this layer here. Let me duplicate this layer so we can see before and after. Now I'm just going to grab your whole setup here because now we have a size problem. Right? We've got this huge room and then this little, oops. I want to see what these guys look like here. This is the interesting part of the illustration. So let's move this on top there. I kind of created a huge mess there, so let's try to block in some of this color back here again. Just for pleasure. We're going to get that in there. Okay, so now I think we got size working better. I'm overlapping your washer, dryer, and your refrigerator to a little extent there. I know that in apartments and stuff you economize, and sometimes you'll have the washer and dryer in the kitchen, but there's a big part of me that feels like that's confusing. I think you kind of want to shoot for the ideal, which is, keep your kitchen, your laundry room, your bathroom. There's all kinds of weird setups. I used to rent a house one time where the toilet was in the closet and it was up, like, for some reason they had to put it up high so your legs kind of just dangled there. And there's all kinds of situations, but we don't want to paint the fringe. We want to go for the middle more. Okay. So the next thing that I would probably do on this one is I would probably really come up with and I'm just going to draw on here a little bit. You've got this big elephant. I like how your couch is kind of getting crushed, but I feel like we need to see some kind of architecture on this couch, some kind of thing that actually looks more couch-like coming down. It can be getting crushed like it would be with these big, huge characters on it. But yeah, I think it needs to I think we need to be able to identify couch right away. And maybe another thing, what I really like is you're going for 3/4 view on your elephant and on your cat. We've talked about that before, right? So 3/4 view on the cat, you're going to have your center line kind of coming over. And so this is kind of what is going on right here. And then you'll have, and then remember that this ear over on this side is going to be bigger than this ear on this side. But on this donkey or horse, we're going straight on again. And I think it would look better to have this guy kind of, he can be peeking out, but have him maybe kind of coming down this way with his, teeth kind of coming out here, and give us the side of that mouth, and maybe those eyes are kind of bulging off the side, just so that we have, what I'm kind of going for there is that 3/4. Yeah. And then basically lightening things up a little bit more. And what you might do, if you've got, I know I ruined your anatomy, but let's say this is the other side of the elephant right here. Okay, so he's pulling a lamp in front of him. That's not really working either very well. Yeah, because it's getting, I just realized that. I thought that was part of his nose, but now I'm realizing it's a lamp. And what you really want to do with a, that is not a donkey either. That is pardon me, that's a giraffe. I'm seeing the other side of him kind of coming out now. So what you want to do with this elephant right here? Elephants have that amazing snout, and I think you really want to play with that shape, and somehow kind of coming along and just really having fun with that shape. And I think that you can show the fear, and maybe having some teeth or something kind of coming out. But you can show that, and you've got that in the big eyes, that expression. But we really want to see that that's an elephant. And I get that he's like dragging the lamp in front like it's a blanket or something. But I think that is because it's the same color. I think it's blending into his features, and then the way you have the trunk kind of going up around it is kind of awkward. The thing that you got to remember is shape matters. If it ain't shape, it ain't, right? And so when you introduce other things like that, you're confusing and clouding those shapes. So keep it simple. But the other thing I was going to mention is you could take some reflected light. Maybe if we're in this range on the bright lights, maybe we go cooler. And maybe if you do have that window light, maybe you go in more of the purple range or something, and then maybe you add some bounce light back in on this side of your elephant, kind of to define that back edge. And by playing those against each other, these subtle lights in the background, and by pumping up the lights in the foreground, maybe you go in a little more saturated in here, so maybe you go, like I was saying, going brighter. You can afford to go quite a bit brighter in the foreground and on some of these surfaces on this side, right? That's how you're going to get it lighter. Now I'm going too light. I'm kind of doing it quickly, but I think you'll get the point that that's kind of how you need to work that. And then that will allow you to work light into the background more, right? So if we're in this range here with this colored light, maybe we go darker down here, and now we can start to add light to this refrigerator back here, maybe even darker, but we really want to avoid the black. So, this is the light side, and this is another reason why you want to have kind of a primary light source, and then a second, instead of secondary, maybe even think tertiary, way down. So if this is the window back here, in fact, let's go ahead and draw it with this color back here, because that's the light that's going to be coming through. Theoretically, maybe you've got this kind of purple light coming through. Now you can put that on this side really dark, and we can start to get that that refrigerator to start working out. And it's going to get the one colored light from the TV, but it's going to get another colored light from the window. So those are things I think I would do on this one. It's a lot of fun, and I love moody pieces like this. I get to see myself doing something like this when I was back in school. And there's the original again, just to kind of show you where we went. That's kind of where I ended up. Okay, so let's move on. And how are we doing on time? This one's going to be kind of a long one, I think. This one is from Sharon Sardo, and she has been one of our students at SVS. Now, I'm not pulling people because of that. I just recognized the name, and I saw hers, and I thought, and I like to pull and critique different levels and abilities, and her ability level is pretty high. So I like to mix those in, just so I'm not just pulling the good ones in and leaving some of the other ones out, and okay, so on this one, there's not a whole lot that I think needs a lot of fixing. I think to me, it's just a perspective issue. Something that I would change in the perspective on this one. Let's see, I'm going to duplicate that. And so her idea was that she wanted to do more interiors because she hasn't done a whole lot of those. And Um, and she just thought that it'd be neat if this little girl saw this shooting star. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along those lines. She's an artist, and then she actually sees in real life, so you can see like on the walls, she's kind of colored rocket ships and stuff. It's a neat idea. And what I would do differently on this one is just play with the perspective. So let's tone this down just a little bit. And one thing that I've noticed, Sharon, is that you have, let me just grab a darker color. So you've got these nice, like gabled roof, with the windows up there, which is kind of neat. And then the walls that kind of come down straight. The thing that I think is kind of messing you up is you're trying to introduce this this angle right here that's kind of coming over, but the rest of the house isn't responding to that. So you're in other words, the loft is more is trying to be more into a forced perspective, but the house isn't, because then these are all parallel with the edge of the picture frame area. So I think what you need to do is kind of redraw the building a little bit so that the building kind of comes out, and then these lines kind of converge downward, right? So kind of like the farther out this wall goes, the more we're going to start to see these lines kind of converge downward. And then that can line up with basically your loft, which has to converge out to a point as well, right? So these lines are eventually going to touch. It's like the train tracks, right? And I think that's basically your only problem on perspective-wise on this one, is just basically getting that to work out. And then I think what the cool thing is, the cat could be just even a little bit bigger right here climbing up. That's a great little touch, a great little piece of storytelling, is that cat trying to claw its way up onto the what's it called, loft. Yeah. But I like your style. I think that I think it's working really nicely. Let's just look again real quick here. One thing that I wanted to point out on this, sometimes in a critique, it's good to point out things that are working really well. I think your color is great. I really like that she's got kind of these city lights. And I just realized this is out of the picture just a little bit. Down here, down at the bottom, so she's got like this orangey kind of light, and as it goes up in through the picture, it just gets darker and darker blues until it's space. So to me, that makes me feel like she's either on the outskirts of a city or in the city, kind of, but there's these clouds. Either that or there's a fire. But it's an interesting color scheme, and I think it's neat. It might be boring if it was just all blues and purples and stuff. I think I've talked about this before. This might go into preference a little bit, personal preference. I would tone down the lights, the little these little decorative lights, just because they're so bright and so white. I feel like they might steal just a little bit, steal the show, the limelight. And I'm wondering, like, what if they were, well, I know that those lights are usually white, but I'm wondering if they could just be toned down just a little bit. I'm gonna color them, but I know this is probably gonna be wrong. But I just want to tone them down just a tiny little bit so they're not as bright. So maybe we focus more on the little girl. I don't know. That's a preference thing. I love her little feet and little hands, and that's one thing that I'll see people trying to do children, and they'll often give them big feet, big hands like adults. Now, when you reach that awkward teenager stage, then it becomes appropriate again. Skinny legs and big feet that more awkward stage that children go through. But when they're younger, I think this is more appropriate to have those little tiny feet and stuff. That's about it on this one that I would change really. Is just working that perspective out, because I think stylistically, it's all working, and color wise, I think it's really nice. So I'm gonna move on. Good job on that. The next one I want to look at is one by, and I hope I say your name right, Doa is what I want to say, Doa. This one's really neat too. Some really fun things happening on this one, and I think we can make it a little bit better. So let's dive in and see what we get. So when I look at this, there's a few things that kind of jump out, things that I would make different changes. And that's basically when I do a critique, I kind of ask myself, like, what would I do differently? And then I try to ask myself, like, would I do it differently because it's just me, or because I really feel like it's wrong? And there's both things happening sometimes. On this one, just from looking at the text, this woman is wishing that she had a daughter, and so she's kind of holding her hands. And to me, story is everything. So if you could have the most beautiful image in the world, but if it's not communicating the right story, then it's really could be considered a failure. And that's a sticky point that I have with a lot of my students sometimes. At UVU, I say at UVU more because they tend to be younger than my online students, and so I'll get guys and gals from college, or in college that came from high school, and they were the best in their class in high school, right? And this could be you, right? Now, they're the best in their high school at craftsmanship, at maybe drawing ability or rendering ability. Like look at the shading I did on her upper lip, man. Like I'm really good at cross hatching, or I'm really good at using colored pencils, or I'm really good at this pen and ink style, or I'm really good at I don't know, drawing characters or something. But then they come to college and they've never had to tell a story, and they're thrown for a loop. I mean, it's like a punch in the gut. All of a sudden they're being told, like, okay, yeah, you're good at that, but we don't care about that anymore. The reason we don't care about that is because you're not telling a story. And in their mind, they're like, a lot of times they can't let it go. They're like, well, I know that I'm the best because everyone that I've ever met, my parents, my high school teachers, my friends, they all know that I'm the best. Like, everyone in my circle of influence knows that I'm the best. So, and sometimes they think I'm full of it, right? And I was like that. I don't blame them. I try to help lead them out of that mindset, because in the end, they've come to, presumably they've come to school so that they can learn how to go out in the world and get jobs and get assignments doing illustration. And ironically, they're not going to get those unless they surrender to the process and learn how to tell a freaking story. So that's something that I encounter a lot of times. And so that's why I'm saying on this one, I'm looking at the story first. To me, where she's grabbing her hands, the text could read, oh, how I wish that my hand didn't hurt anymore. And I'm not saying this to make a joke, but I'm just saying, like, that's when you're grabbing your hand, you're either nervous or your hand hurts or something. But to me, if she's wishing that she had a daughter, she'd be holding her belly, right? She'd be holding her abdomen and thinking down there. So I would put her hands, I'm definitely not going to try to draw some really good hands right now, but basically I think I'd put one hand kind of up here on the top of the belly, and then I think I'd put one kind of down below, kind of holding like that little basket area, that little area where she's going to have a baby. I think I'd put one on top and below. That's just me. And I think that would communicate the story better. Her eyes are good. Her she's already looking down. She's kind of got that longing look. And I think that's working great. The next thing that I would do on this one, let me just see where I'm on my layers there. I would, so there's the chair is not, to me, is not indicative of the chair that you would find in a castle. She's got this crown. I want to see some sort of a chair. In fact, this is what I do. I'm just gonna surrender to the process. This is scary because who knows what could pop up when you get on Google, right? Let's see, throne. What do we get? So, yeah, I would come up with some sort of a version of something that looks, and I see an attempt at a little bit of design work at the top of this chair, but to me it just doesn't say throne. I like something like this, and to me, I think I'm just going to grab that. Let's see here. I think that now where is it? There it is. Something like that is really going to say chair more. And this is what I do. Like, I go out to Google all the time. I have a memory that's pretty good on stuff that I've drawn in the past, as most people do. But for something like this, I'm definitely going to consult. And part of the reason is I want to draw something different, right? I don't want to just, whenever you pull from your own memory, like if you're constantly pulling from your own memory, you're not going to expand your visual vocabulary, your visual library that's memorized. But two, you're gonna it's like you'll draw in kind of a dreamlike state. It'll be void of details, and you often will not understand the shapes that you're trying to make. So this one, this kind of chair has this kind of quality to it where it kind of comes back in, and so maybe we wouldn't see it on the other side. And then up here you've got room for this really kind of fun scroll work, so you can do all kinds of little fun things. And then you've got this anyway, and then these arms of the chair, really nice arms with some scroll work in there as well. And you want to make sure that you're drawing through so that this side you're going to come over here and do the same kind of a thing right there, right? And then this is such a nice, neat shape, the way that kind of, and you probably won't see all this, but you're going to draw through anyway. And then that can add to, like right now, the chair that she's got, to me just looks meh, bland, and kind of boring. I think you want to, if she's the queen, make her the queen. Give her a chair that's going to be fitting. And then, so there's that, and then one more thing on this is color. So color-wise, I would, what I think you're fighting with is you've got her skin tones, her dress, and the chair are all the same color. And so I think that you could really have a lot of fun. You can keep your warms warm inside and your cools cool outside, but I really feel like you've got to. So what's happening here is, and I don't want to spend too much time, so maybe I'll just do a little bit of kind of a little bit of paint on this. Let's do this. Let's cool down the background. And The background's already cool, but what we're going to do is we're going to darken it even colder. And the reason for that is I feel like her skin tones should be the most interesting thing with the warmth, but it's the thunder's being stolen by everything else. So if we kind of come on in here and we get like a color just to darken this all down back here, and of course, your see, now that's going to make your white text pop even better when we put the text back out there. I'm not going to do that, but now, if what if we made this chair green, like kind of an emerald, kind of a green color. I don't know. You have to try things before you know if they work or not. Now, again, I would change the shape of it, but and this might not be right, but we're just going to try it. See, now her tones can pop out. So, now her skin tone's going to be a lot more interesting. You talk about in here. You talk about lips as red as blood. Maybe she has lips that are more red. Like you're in these kind of peach colors, but like what if she's got these lips that really draw attention? Maybe you go even darker. Whoops. Somebody's wanting to message me. I don't know if that's right, and I don't know if that's right for your story, but that those little spots of color can really help and can really add to it. Another thing to watch on this is the shadow colors that you have, like in the drapes. The only time you really want to go into black shadows, like here, where you got these really, really dark tones, is on dark objects. And so your drapes are really light because the local color is showing like a peach, kind of a warm light color. So you wouldn't go into black. You would stay more in these tones. So like the darkest that you might go in there, probably not even that dark, probably something like this. That's enough darkness to really separate and to give you those folds there. I have a feeling that the dog is going to bark soon here because I think one of my kids is coming home, about to come in the door. Yep. New doggy loves to bark when people come over, so you guys are going to have to get used to that. Okay, little puppers, guess what? It's just someone coming in the house. How annoying. You're annoying. And you're throwing me off my game. Okay. The last thing that I would do on this is the text is really forced in here. And I think I've mentioned this in videos before, but you don't want to it's just time to like text me and have the dog bark and all sorts of things. You don't want to put type in your illustrations unless it really enhances the illustration, meaning unless it's really good type, unless it's really good graphic design. It can only, putting type in your images can, in most cases, will hurt you if you don't have really good design. I don't know how else to say it. Don't do it unless you're good at it. And this is forced. And what I mean is it's too wide for the space that it's in. And for a storybook like this, I'd probably use a serif font. That's just me. It's a kind of more of an old school feel to it. But other than that, there's a lot of nice things going on in this piece. It's a really nice one. Okay, last up, going to do kind of a bonus on this one. And this one's by, and I think the name is Parage, but I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. So I think the dog doesn't like me saying that word. I have to figure out something to do with you when I make videos from now on. See, the problem is she'll scratch if she's not in here. She'll scratch and moan at the door to get in, and then she wants to wreck my life while she's in here. Hey, knock it off. You're just a dog. You don't get to rule the scene. Okay, so this one is one of the reasons why I got this one is because it's just so well executed. There's so many good things, but we can always make things better. It's like you can usually find things to do that will improve. And I want to zoom in on this a little bit. I know it's going to crop out, but I want to just show you some of the things that are happening in here. And I'm going to ask you guys before I weigh in, what would you change? Like if there was one thing that you would change. Now the idea on this is basically that the king and his soldiers have won against the dragons. They've beaten back the dragons and they forced them to surrender. And so this is kind of the I guess they're setting the terms, like from now on, dragons, you must abide by these rules or something like that. And they're kind of laughing and having a good time with it. So I'm asking you, what would be the one thing, it kind of stuck out at me. Again, this is high level stuff. This is done really, really well. And for me, probably the biggest thing that I would do differently on here is when I first looked at this, it looked like this black area right here was this guy's hair, and then I realized later on, oh no, it's the smoke coming out of the dragon. And because those two are joining together, what they're doing, what it really is serving to function as, is kind of an interesting tangent that is bringing the background together with that middle ground and just kind of merging them together. And the fact that there is kind of a because the hair, this is a dark-haired guy, and I guess he's the guy that reads off the scrolls or whatever. But then you've got that dark smoke in the background, and they're kind of joining forces and creating a new shape. So the thing that I would do probably different on that, if I was just to work on this just a little bit, is I'm just going to paint this out. And I know I'm not going to match the colors exactly, but I just want to kind of do this quickly. Probably if I get rid of my texture, I could do it quicker, right? So something like that. And then I probably, instead of having his tail coming in there, coming back in, I'd probably just kind of really make the smoke kind of do something like it's kind of fizzling out right there, and then that way you could have maybe a little more architecture right here. I'm really sorry about the dog, you guys. She's really cute and she's really sweet, but she is a pest. I think the next video I make, no doggies allowed. We're going to put her in a kennel. So in that sense, you could even have, like, because if you simplify the area like that, you could even have, like, some stonework or something kind of coming in to add to the architecture or something like that, to kind of take us back. And then that stonework can get smaller as it goes back, which will also add to the effect of the illusion of depth and distance, right? And then, man, I love the expression on the king. He's just laughing. And then this It just brought to mind what movie was that where someone's like, "Stop laughing at me, stop laughing." Anyway, I can't remember. Then you've got the head of this dragon kind of just bowing down and like, you know, in surrender. The only other thing I think, and this is a judgment call, this isn't a right or wrong thing, but the only other thing I think I would do, I think I'd have one of these guards. You know, they've got the mean look and everything. I think I'd have, you know, have them pointing, you got to abide by our rules. I mean, maybe it's this guy, you know, maybe this guy's arm kind of comes out from the other side here, you know, and maybe he's doing the pointing or something like that. But I think I would do something like that to really kind of tell them, you know, kind of overkill, like instead of just standing there. Something like that. Other than that, this is a great piece. It's really nice, and thanks for submitting it. Little things like this are not lost on me. This really cool shape right here, and then you bring in this. I don't know what that's called on the wing. The it's like a spike, or it's like what is it? Like a claw on the wing or something. Fitting it up inside of this shape, I love that. That's the kind of stuff that I like to do. I like to look for shapes like that, you know, and having this person standing in the doorway is great. So those are the things that I would do. And yeah. Anyway, hey you guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check us out on SVS and see what we're doing over there. We're going to be doing more critiques this summer. We're going to be doing more. We're going to try to implement some portfolio reviews. So that's something that we're going to be trying to do. We do have a big perspective class that's a live class that's coming up. That's going to be announced in like a week or two. Probably in a week. Within a week, it'll be announced on the website. And what else do we have? Lee's class, his illustration class is going to start in July. Just all kinds of things. We're going to try to work hard to get the website updated so that it's really clear as to what's coming up, what's going to be happening, and things like that. And I'm just going to tease this, but in the future, we're talking about like having like live meetups, like maybe even having like some workshops out here where we meet in person. It'd be fun to find out if anybody's even interested in that in the comments section. Anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, I've got all my links down below where you can contact me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and I will see you on the next video, and don't forget to make great art.